Howdy, folks. Last video here about revision and editing of our essay once we have it done. So some guided notes that I want you to jot down. Make sure you have these in your notes. Is just what the writing process is, different types of revision, and then I would even add one in there, maybe revision versus editing. So let's talk about the writing process here. We haven't done that a whole bunch. And if we think through what we actually do when we write, so number one, we come up with ideas, right? We just brainstorm some ideas, even if that's just I'm sitting down to think for 2 minutes before I put my pencil to paper. That's the brainstorming process. And then ideally, we should be planning out our essay, like at least thinking forward, okay, here's my main idea, here's what I'm going to use to support it. That usually happens in either a formal or an informal way on any piece of writing that you do. You don't always sit down and do a full-on outline for every essay, but generally there's some ideas of like what's going to go where. Then we're drafting, and I'm going to call it drafting our essay instead of writing our essay, because writing implies that the thing is done once you're done. Once I'm done writing my essay, I'm done, right? Well, once you're done drafting your essay, then you have to revise and edit. And I want to show you, here's my visual difference between revision and editing for writing. So if we're talking about revising our essay, that means looking at the big structural elements. Are there pieces and parts of my entire essay that I need to change from scratch, right? Because I shouldn't be like painting this wall here by making it all nice and neat and all the grammar work and all the spelling's correct and I've done all my MLA formatting if I'm just going to tear it down and have to rewrite it, right? So do your heavy lifting first, then go back through and make it look pretty, like put makeup on and put paint, because everyone puts makeup on before you paint, right? Those two things, basically make it pretty last, break it apart first. So there's a phrase that gets tossed around with revision called kill your darlings, right? So many times when I get done writing something, I've put so much work and effort into it that it's hard for me to get distance from my thoughts and my ideas. And I'm here to tell you that it's okay to kill all that work that you spent to get your ideas down on paper the first time, right? It's actually better if you do. If you go through and write everything out, and if you were to delete it and rewrite it again in the same amount of time, you would come up with a better product. I'm betting 10 times out of 10. Because we have to be okay with changing our writing and breaking our writing. Remember, that's the process that we go through to improve ourselves, right? We go up to a point of failure and find out what those breaking points are, and then we start over again, right? That's what happens when you build muscle, right? Your muscles get broken down and they rebuild stronger. That's what happens when we revise. We break our paragraphs, we break our ideas down, and we make them stronger each time we do this. So I'm talking about rewriting entire sentences, rewriting transitions, taking a look at entire paragraphs, or even going back through and revising our thesis. Anything's fair game with revision. So there's two types of revision that I want to kind of identify to you. First one is alignment revision, which basically asks, did I follow the directions, right? Mr. Rested asked me to build a house. Did I accidentally build a Taco Bell? I don't know, they're both structures. They look kind of similar. If I didn't know the difference between a house and a Taco Bell, I may not know. So I might need to go double check and see what was I asked to actually do, and did I do that thing, right? So you might write great essays that don't answer the question that was posed to you. So make sure we align our essays to what we're doing. And then also ask, like, did I do what I needed to do? So hopefully writing essays is kind of a personal exploration. Hopefully you can look back on this and think, did I convey the ideas that I wanted to convey? Did my point get across? And then the other part of revision I would call is discovery. And that's where you're recognizing where you could improve your own writing. So looking for those details where you're like, I think I'm saying what I need to say, but I might need to adjust it. And in that discovery revision, there's another two pieces and parts. So there's content revision, where we're going to be like literally adding content or taking away content or refining content, right? Those are kind of the three things we can do. I can add more sentences, I can take out my sentences that don't fit, or I can refine what I have there. That's what we're looking at for content revision. My two questions that I ask for content revisions, number one, before any sentence, I think back to, okay, what is my thesis? What am I trying to prove? And then literally sentence by sentence, I ask, does this sentence help support, or does it lead directly to support of my thesis? If the answer is no, you probably need to remove it, or refine it. Make sure that it is pointing back. Like, is this getting to my main idea, my controlling idea? Second thing you might do is some structural revision. Just basically think of, is the sequence of my ideas, is the flow of my paragraphs, do they make sense, right? So I might not need to change the sentences themselves, but I'm going to change the order or the transitions that I'm using in between those to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. Okay, pause this video right here, and I want you to write down 2 things that you remember about revision that you could apply on your next essay that you write. Cool. Hopefully you did that. And then lastly, once you get done with the big structural revisions where you feel like I'm happy with all the content of my paper, I'm happy with the structure, then you paint it. That's where you go through and you double check spelling and you double check grammar and those punctuation marks and the commas and the MLA format, right? Don't do that before you switch everything. Do that very, very last. And I have some suggestions for you that I'm going to share on Google Classroom. So this is my revising and editing checklist. This kind of goes through our revision process. Here's our editing checklist. This is what I would go through every time I wrote a paper for college or my master's degree. Number 1, read your writing aloud. Seriously, like to yourself. Go put your head in a corner and read your paper out loud. Like print it out if you can. That's the best way. Because if you are stumbling and having trouble like smoothly flowing through your paper, it's probably awkward to read as someone else too. So fix those awkward or choppy sounding things. Make sure that you're varying your sentence structure, because you'll be able to hear, am I using short sentence, followed by short sentence, followed by short sentence, followed by short sentence, or am I mixing it up? Am I moving some long sentences in here and some shorter sentences, maybe some compound sentences? Evaluate your word choice. Like really think, am I overusing a word too much? Am I using words that are meaningless, like really or a lot? Have I kept my personal pronouns out? Like, am I using the word I? Do I need to replace that with something else? And then just double check to make sure that it looks right. You know, if you're not sure what MLA format is, here's a hint, Google. And my God, like, isn't Google pretty amazing? Where I could check most any of these and they're going to tell me, okay, here's what I need to know. Here's what I need to do for MLA format. So you're just one click away from making sure you can get everything done that you need to. All right, use that checklist to revise and edit your writing. Good luck, folks.